before we start this, I have to ask you an honest to God question. I
Okay.
need your honest opinion because I think I found a. Did they not do a good job of showing those two getting to like each other?
It took a while, but there were moments where they found a bond.
Where he was
I
ready
think
to
they
give his life for her, though?
that's where I'm a little bit iffy.
This is where there was 4 plot lines in this show. It should have had 2. Because I could buy, maybe, because this is the redemption that we said she didn't need. And now Billy was ready to give his life for her, and I'm not buying it. Four more episodes of the 2 minutes we got with them in that room talking about Tommy, and I would have believed you. Because that was good development for those two.
Yeah, all the stuff in that room was honestly like phenomenal.
That's the best writing they've had in the whole show, in my opinion, right now. Honestly. The latter half of this is fantastic. They didn't know how to get here. This is like the. Remember when I said this show was built backwards?
Mm-hmm.
This is screaming that the show was built backwards. They had how the show was ending and a good chunk of the last episode and a half. Because I really like the last episode and a half. Or like the last half of this episode, and I'm going to assume I'm going to like the last episode fully.
Kind of has the opposite problem of a lot of the other Marvel shows where it's like, oh, they start off great and then they just kind of taper off into nothing. This one, I would say starting at episode 4 is when they got like incrementally better each episode.
It was, and that's the problem. It feels like they knew how to structure the second half of the show, but not the first half to get you to care about the second half that's good. Because although the episodes where the Coven Witches have their moments, in the end, they don't end up meaning much for the main plot of the story, which is Billy and Agatha and death. Even the Salem 7 was bordering on pointless. Because they confirmed they died in that room from being stabbed.
Yep.
This should have had another rewrite of its script. Because if they would have knocked out, I'm going to be really honest with you, the episodes were great. Like, I should say the parts of the episodes that are dealing with those witches and them getting them stuff over whatever was good. I honestly think this show would have been better if it was just Billy and Agatha.
You think so?
I'm going to be really honest with you. I think they could have came up with 4 or 5 situations that were tests on the road to get them to figure out their differences between why she did what she did and why he's doing what he's doing. And then by the end, they gained an understanding and they got to the point of where they're in that room and she's talking with him about his goal over her own to try and get to help him to find Tommy. Then I would believe that she tried so hard to help him find Tommy to get him out of the road, and then he comes back to help her and is willing to give himself because she gave everything to help him. You get to that point by those two getting a bond with each other the whole way along, not by those two having one person trying to figure out who the hell he is the entire time and having 6 or 7 people not knowing other than Agatha, and then have Agatha trying to screw over 6 or 7 people just to help Rio, who in the end is death, and 6 bodies is going to make a difference when you're death?
That's like an afternoon snack for death.
Exactly. So you didn't need the trials with the witches. You could have had trials, but it should have just been Billy and Agatha. Those two are the main point of the show, because now that all of them are gone, they meant nothing to the actual conclusion of the show. They only helped themselves and left. It helped nothing to those two, which you're seeing now is the main draw, because they're gonna make Agatha into what she was for Wanda in the comics. Or they're make to Billy for what she was to Wanda in the comics. She was a dead spirit that mentored Wanda. And she was kind to Wanda. That's why it made sense. Here, they kind of finally got along for 10 minutes, and now he was going to give his life for her.
Yeah, they probably could have spent a little bit more time. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, going back to WandaVision, I'm still a little confused why they had to make her the villain. Just so she could oppose Wanda, just so she has someone to fight in the end.
That is kind of how, and like, I thought that was fine if she was just going to be a one-off, ooh, I'm the bad guy kind of thing. Which, I get it. She wants to steal magic, that's her thing. And I kind of got part that, like, she kind of got sucked up into it while she was trying to get at Wanda. Whatever, but it was a very much toward the end kind of deal. Kind of like how this is. But WandaVision executed that better.
Yeah.
WandaVision set the bar way too freaking high
It
for these
did.
shows. I'm going to be really honest with you. I infinitely think that this would have been better if it was just Billy and Agatha. Because then I would have believed this turnaround that she has.
I think honestly the problem is making Agatha the main character, when this almost could have been just Billy's show with Agatha as supporting.
Yeah, and like that still would have been okay with what I was suggesting, because I mean, you're getting Agatha to be, weirdly enough, this does feel like a show that they share. You know what this is a really poor version of now that I'm thinking about it? Violet Evergarden.
Oh god, you're right.
Where Agatha is technically the main character, but everything happens around through the lens of her. But because Agatha is a downright nasty, rotten individual, that plot device doesn't work.
No. Like I really do think the show has gotten better in the second half, but I don't blame people for thinking like the first half was not necessarily a chore to get through, but it didn't really know what it wanted to be until the fourth episode.
Because they stopped doing what I want to say pop culture episodes. Like, we got a Ouija board, so we're all dressed like we're in Friday the 13th 80s clothes. And Agatha's mom shows up for a little bit. Which you still could have had with just Billy bringing out a Ouija board. Because you could have had him bring out a Ouija board to try to talk to Tommy. You see what I'm getting at here? Where they could have had all these things just be about Billy and Agatha? You have enough stuff with just trying to get to Tommy that Billy could have lasted 8 episodes with Agatha tagging along, and with the initial thing to help screw him over to help Rio, but then Tommy turns her around to the point of where it's those two against her eventually.
I'm seeing where you're coming from.
'Cause all the plot development that's supposed to be from these people's sacrifices with these two kind of gets thrown out because Agatha doesn't give two shits about all of them. She only gives a shit now, apparently, about Billy. And none of those sacrifices affected Billy. Except for one, because he was like, cool, she gave her life so I could move forward. And then the next sacrifice is just taking something from Agatha that was hers that had nothing to do with Billy. Although it was a cool moment, it didn't add anything. I feel like they had Agatha and Billy and didn't know how to get those two where they needed to get them, when they kind of should have just had a road trip movie down a witch road with those two.
Are you saying this should have been a movie instead of a series?
Nah, I don't know exactly if it would have been a movie because it never would have got made.
True.
I feel like, I don't know why I said movie, but the concept of a movie, not exactly, but planes, trains, and automobiles with these two, but magic.
No, I get it. I get where you're coming from.
Because now, Death is gone. Billy is figuring out that he just Westviewed Westview in the Witch's Road, somehow. And Agatha's a ghost. I'm sorry I'm saying that, but I would bet my top dollar that the plot device from the comics is going to be what she is right now. I'd be willing to bet my mortgage when we start the next episode. She is a clear, ghouly ghost just standing in the middle of his room trying to scare him.
I don't want to say anything because I may have got spoiled by parts of the next episode.
What's the next episode supposed to be? The show's done. The pacing of the show is so weird.
I think the next episode is going to be more or less an epilogue. We may get some flashbacks from Agatha's youth. We'll know more about the Witch's Road.
The only thing I can think of, honestly, in this episode that would be a point worth doing is Agatha and Billy actually finding Tommy. That's the only thing worth looking into that's left. They're out of the Witch's Road. They both got what they wanted. I mean, neither of them got what they wanted. Actually, now I'm thinking about it, because Billy wanted Tommy. He didn't get him, unless they're just going to go find him. And Agatha wanted her powers back. And she died. It was kind of a lose-lose situation.
I was thinking that too. Wait a minute.
Who gained here? You know who did? Death did.
Yep.
And I have to make one more comment when we get it out of this. Death is supposed to be one of the most omnipotent, all-powerful creatures in comics. She was getting her ass spanked by Wiccan. We can't be doing this. We can't. If we barely see her again and her big thing was making out with Agatha after Wiccan shoved her through Agatha's window, we can't do that. You can't turn that level of characters into a one-off thing from a Disney Plus show. Most people... Oh, I shouldn't take that back. There's a good amount of people that are watching this. I think it's out of morbid curiosity at this point. But I don't know. I really don't know what they're doing with Death right now.
I think she's gonna stick around. She's too good to keep contained in this one show.
She is, but you need to come up with a reason why, if they use her later and she's supposed to be scary, that she was able to get her ass kicked for a good 5 minutes by Wiccan. Because that's not good. Especially a Wiccan who's been Wiccan for roughly 3.5 hours.
Give or take.
If time distortion's happening, if we experience as much time as they did, he's been Wiccan in his truest form for an hour and a half. But
if only I could be as talented in that short of a time.
Yeah, but yeah, that's all I got. I just they need to swing for the frickin' fences in this last episode.
I know I'll probably have more to say once we actually get to the last episode and we can share some more overall thoughts. But for now, I am ultimately glad that the show exists, despite its flaws.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is one of those shows that has kind of proven people wrong. That people thought this was like, oh, just some spin-off capitalizing off the success of one character from WandaVision, but turned out there's more. There's more that audiences were craving in this series.
There is, but in my opinion, the biggest complaint was the show having, what should I say, an overall goal and a point to add to other things. Because that is one thing they were bitching about the other shows, that they didn't really, at the end of it, matter. And I'm waiting for the end episode, because if nothing really leaves this other than Wiccan for a possible Young Avengers movie, they are kinda justified in that complaint. I'm not saying the show is pointless and there wasn't stuff to it, but I think that's, in my opinion, where those complaints come from. Because Secret Invasion was one that started, we're really not getting anything out of. Oh god, what was the one we watched before Secret Invasion?
Before Secret Invasion?
She-Hulk. Where it looks like we're not going to be getting a thing out of She-Hulk because it looks like that's just not happening. Because we're getting a hard reset from the sounds of it with Daredevil. And it's going to kind of act like everything at the end of She-Hulk didn't happen. So I get to a degree what they're complaining about these shows mattering and not just being, I should say, something that could be replaced with something that actually moves plot forward. Because as much as product that's been involved in this Phase 4, which is supposed to be the Phase 1 of what this whole multiverse thing was supposed to be, there's a whole lot going on in it that didn't move as far as Phase 1 did originally, with about 3 to 4 times as much product happening in the same amount of time.
Yeah, phases 4 and 5 are... They weren't really so much building up to something like the Avengers, and more just kind of more just like expanding the world and establishing the multiverse.
Yeah, it is, but then the part where it fell apart, I'm not trying to go on because we get on to the next one. We didn't do that much with the actual multiverse.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
All this stuff that's supposed to be the multiverse saga, we got Doctor Strange, Deadpool, and not even Ant-Man technically, because that was just that Kang and Loki.
Yeah.
And then the rest were just shows that happened. And all of it was building towards Kang, which we're no longer doing.
We will probably have to wait until we'll probably have to wait until Doomsday to figure out why this was even called the Multiverse Saga.
Well, no, we know why it was called the Multiverse Saga, but a certain court case made it not worth being called the Multiverse Saga anymore.
True.
Because Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, I imagine we're still going to have a bunch of multiverse horseshit because they're going to end up having Battle Planet and all that where they just take everything and it into one. And then you have the X-Men and the Fantastic Four and all that horseshit on one planet. Because we do not need a multiverse after this. We don't need a portal to go to where the Fantastic Four are just to say, hey, how's things going on yours?
No, it's I think it's time to streamline things. Go back to just one Earth and just do the heavy hitter stuff. The Fantastic Four, X-Men. You could spend decades doing just X-Men.
Yeah, you could have. I know. I'll say it every day until people are sick of it, which you probably already are. Fox did the biggest fumble in movie history with how they handled that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, yeah, let's get on to the next episode. Mike, where can everybody find you?
You guys can find me on various social media sites at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Blue Sky at Ren Pop Culture. You can also find us on YouTube, on Podchaser. Consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/Renegade Pop Culture. And listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need escape? So do we.
Absolutely. And I am Organoid Zero on everything except for... especially... mostly on Twitch and YouTube. Until next time, I'll see you all later. Bye.